He didn't steal my wallet. He didn't sabotage my career. He didn't do anything dramatic enough to report to HR or complain about at a family dinner. He stole a broom and a dustpan. And somehow, that was enough to make my blood boil every single day I walked into work. But here's the thing about small injustices. They don't always need a big response. Sometimes the perfect revenge is so quiet, so clean, so generous, that the person you're targeting has no idea they've already lost. They just have to stand there and watch. And that's exactly what happened.
If you've ever worked with someone who operates by their own selfish set of rules and somehow gets away with it every single time, this one is for you. Hit that like button, subscribe if you're new here, and get ready for one of the most quietly satisfying workplace revenge stories you'll hear all week. No drama, no screaming, just pure, elegant payback. Let's go. The world of the factory floor. Let me paint you a picture of where this story takes place, because the setting matters more than you might think. It's a small factory. Not glamorous, not the kind of place you'd see on a company recruitment video with soft lighting and smiling employees. This is the real thing. The hum of machines, the smell of grease and metal in the air, the particular kind of background noise that you stop hearing after your first few weeks, but that never actually goes away. There are 8 people in our pod. 8 workers sharing the same general space, operating near each other every single day. You learn people's habits in a place like that. You know who takes a long lunch, you know who talks too much in the morning, and who needs 10 minutes of silence before they're human again. You know who pulls their weight and who finds creative ways to avoid it. We're a small unit, and like any small unit, we have unwritten rules, shared norms, little courtesies that keep the whole thing running without anyone having to spell them out in a policy document. One of those norms was simple. The cleaning supplies live in a shared area, accessible to everyone, returned after use. Basic stuff. The kind of thing you don't think about because no reasonable adult would ever make it complicated. And then there was Gary. I'm gonna call him Gary. That's not his real name, but it fits him. Gary has that particular energy of a man who has spent his whole life making sure that he personally is always slightly more comfortable than the people around him. Even if, especially if, that comfort comes directly at someone else's expense. The theft that wasn't technically a theft. I noticed it on a Tuesday. Cleanup time rolls around. It's end of shift, the fire marshal's orders are clear, every station gets cleaned every day, no exceptions. I walk over to the shared supply area to grab the broom and dustpan, and they're gone. I looked around, checked behind a rack, thought maybe someone had moved them. Looked again, gone. I asked around. Someone jerked their chin in Gary's direction. He's got him. I looked across the floor, and sure enough, there they were. The good broom, the decent dustpan, both of them propped up neatly against the wall inside Gary's personal work area, tucked in like they'd always lived there, like he'd simply decided one morning that community property was now his property, and that was just the way things were going to be now. Here is what you need to understand about factory floor etiquette. You do not walk into someone else's workstation uninvited. It's not a written rule. It doesn't appear in any handbook, but it is absolute. A person's station is their space, their domain, the one small patch of the world at work that belongs to them. Walking in uninvited is a violation. It creates tension. It starts things. Gary knew this. That's the part that got under my skin more than anything else. This wasn't carelessness. This wasn't someone absent-mindedly carrying the broom back to their station and forgetting to return it.
This was a calculated move. He had taken the best equipment and put it somewhere that made it socially uncomfortable for anyone to retrieve it without crossing a line.
He had created a situation where the rest of us would either have to awkwardly invade his space, cause unnecessary conflict, or just deal with inferior tools. And he sat in the middle of it, pretending it was perfectly normal. My jaw tightened. My chest did that thing it does when something isn't right, but there's no clean way to address it. A kind of low, simmering pressure that sits just behind your sternum and makes every breath slightly shorter than it should be. I went and found the old broom, the one with the bent handle and the bristles that had been splayed out at odd angles for so long they'd basically given up on being a broom. The dustpan with the crack along the edge that meant you had to hold it at exactly the right angle or all the dirt would slide back out. I cleaned my station, and I thought about Gary the entire time.
Over the next few days, I watched. Gary used those supplies like they were his personal property, which, in his mind, they now were. He was efficient about it, I'll give him that. He cleaned, he put them back in his corner, he never offered them around. If someone needed them and happened to catch him at a moment where he was in a generous mood, maybe he'd let them borrow it. But the gesture, the control, the gatekeeping was always there. And meanwhile, I'm watching my coworkers struggle. A couple of the guys in our pod aren't young. Their backs aren't what they used to be. Bending all the way down to hold a cheap, cracked dustpan at the right angle while pushing a bent bristle broom isn't just annoying for them. It's genuinely painful. Every day,
Cleanup time arrived, and you could see it on their faces. That particular wince that people wear when they're deciding whether to say something about the discomfort or just push through it one more time. They were always pushing through it. Because of Gary. Because Gary needed to be the guy with the best dustpan. I started thinking, not reactively, not out of hot anger. Something cooler than that, more deliberate. I'm not someone who picks fights. I'm not someone who storms across the floor and makes a scene. That's not how I'm wired. And honestly, that's not how you win. If I'd walked over to Gary and said, "Hey, those belong to everyone," what then? He denies it. I look petty. Maybe he moves them back for a week, and then they quietly migrate back to his station. Nothing changes, except now there's bad blood. No, I needed something better than that. I needed something that didn't just fix the problem. I needed something that made the problem visible. Something that showed without a single word of accusation exactly what kind of person Gary was and exactly what kind of person I was. I needed to be so obviously, visibly generous that Gary's selfishness would have nowhere to hide. I went to the store on my day off. I walked down the cleaning supplies aisle, and I took my time. I found a heavy-duty dustpan, the kind with the long handle, the kind where you never have to bend over, the kind where you just push the dirt in, stand upright, and done. No crouching, no back pain, no awkward angles.
Then I bought a second one, same quality, for my own station. I went home and I let myself feel good about what I was about to do. Not smug, not vindictive, just right. The way you feel when you found a solution that doesn't make you someone you don't want to be. Monday morning, I came in early. I set up my station with my new dustpan. Clean, sturdy, exactly where I needed it. And then I walked over to the shared supply area and I put the second one right there, front and center, where everyone could see it. I didn't make an announcement. I didn't call a meeting. When the guys drifted in and started noticing it, that's for everyone. Use it whenever you need it. I watched the older guys in the pod notice it. Watched one of them pick it up, test the long handle, stand up straight, and nod slowly. like a man who's just been told he doesn't have to carry a heavy thing anymore. That nod, that quiet, grateful nod, I'll keep that for a while. And then I watched Gary. He came in. He saw the new dustpan in the shared area. His eyes tracked from that over to my station, where my own matching dustpan sat. And I watched the math happen on his face.
The slow, uncomfortable calculation of a man who has just realized that he has been maneuvered without a single confrontation. He didn't say anything. He didn't have to. Here's what the scoreboard looked like at end of day. Gary hoarding a mediocre broom and a slightly okay dustpan in the corner of his station, which now, next to the shiny new communal setup, looked less like a strategic acquisition and more like a petty little pile of stuff a selfish man had grabbed for himself. Me, the person who bought better tools for my coworkers out of my own pocket, made life easier for the guys with bad backs, and asked for absolutely nothing in return. The whole pod knew what had happened without anyone saying it out loud. That's the thing about small, closed environments like a factory floor. People see. They don't always talk, but they see, and they remember. Gary kept his broom. He was welcome to it. Every single time cleanup rolled around, and everyone else stood upright and used the good dustpan, and Gary crouched in his corner with his slightly okay version, the one he'd hoarded so he could be the guy with the best equipment. He got to feel exactly what he made everyone else feel. Small. And the best part? He did it to himself.
There's a kind of revenge that leaves you feeling worse than when you started. And then there's the kind that actually makes the world around you a little better, lifts the people who deserved lifting, and lets the selfish person live permanently inside the consequences of their own choices. That second kind? That's not just revenge. That's winning. If this story scratched that itch, if you felt it when that nod happened, smash that like button and tell me in the comments, what's the most satisfying petty revenge you've ever pulled off or witnessed? The smaller and more precise, the better. And if you're not subscribed yet, what are you doing? We've got a whole collection of stories exactly like this one. Justice served quietly, karma doing its job, and regular people winning in the most satisfying ways possible. See you in the next one.